So, quickly, let's look at 5 sure ways to set your teenager up for success in today's crazy world. Now, there are a lot of doom and gloom stories out there about how the AI is taking over the world, teenagers today being more stubborn and difficult to deal with. But the truth is that this generation, these teenagers we're looking at today, have unprecedented access to opportunities. I mean, if you look back at 100 years ago, who would have thought that you could sit in the comfort of your room and get access to top, libraries in the world, watch and listen to some of the most successful people in the world? A couple of years ago, for you to be able to listen to, I don't know, Tony Robbins or whoever, you need to travel to maybe the US or somewhere to attend conferences at very, very expensive prices. But now you could just sit in the comfort of your room and listen to whoever you want to listen to. I mean, you're listening to me now, Legend May. That's a joke, by the way. So that's the opportunity this time presents to young people. So rather than majoring on those challenges that this generation faces, you could actually position your young person to take advantage, to swim with the tide, rather than swim against the tide, to achieve whatever life has to offer in this age and time. And how can you do that? That's what this video is about. But before we go into that, please, I'll encourage you to subscribe and to follow, because every week, this is the kind of content I am promising you would be getting from this channel. So a good thing to do is to stay connected so you don't miss any of it. Before we go into the crux of this conversation, we need to define exactly what we mean by success, because we are getting stuck in this definition of success by, short-term things like grades in school, achievements, behavioral changes, rather than tying it to long-term milestones and markers like, identity, development of resilience, and practical everyday skills. So what exactly do I mean by success when we're talking about teenagers? It comes down basically to a few questions. Questions like, can they think for themselves? Can they stay focused in a distracted world with all the distraction flying all over the place? Can they handle pressure without breaking? Can they identify opportunities and turn those opportunities into results? That, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between, is the definition of success in this particular context. Or if you prefer, we can say teen success is a young person who is becoming capable of navigating life independently, responsibly, and meaningfully. I hope that makes sense. So let's go into the 5 practical things we're talking about then. Number 1, give them direction, not extra pressure. And now this is very important, because I've seen a lot of parents who, number 1, are either trying to live their childhood dreams through their young people. So they wanted to become footballers, they wanted to become doctors, wanted to become lawyers, and now they've got a young person. So they want to turn that young person into that thing they failed to become. That's an error in the first place. So they mount unnecessary pressure on the young person. Some other people are trying to use their children to get back to people who have insulted them, people who have told them they're not going to succeed. That young person is not there for you to use as a get back card or get back tool to anybody. Or I've seen people who use their children as this societal, class card where they show my child is a doctor, my child is whatever. That happens a lot in where I grew up. That's not what that young person is there for. And the reason I say that is because when a teenager sees and sees and sees a future that they like and that they want to arrive at, focus, motivation, all of these things they need to succeed takes care of itself. So rather than telling them what to become, what to do with their lives, what you want to do is to have simple, easy conversations with them about career choices, about opportunities, about the future. Go on a walk. I keep talking about going on a walk. It always works because as you go on that walk, things come up naturally. And those things are conversation starters that you can then use to have a meaningful conversation with your young person. But what you want to start doing is to tap into their interests, tap into what they want to do. Because if you set them on the path of what they want to do, you would never have to worry about motivation. And in fact, sometimes you don't need to worry about focus because that's what they want to do. The second thing you can do to give them direction is exposing them to a plethora, a multitude of opportunities. Take them on travels. Take them to universities to go and see what's happening in universities. Talk to them about apprenticeships, about starting businesses, about entrepreneurship, anything whatsoever. Those opportunities that they see would easily shape and help them get a clearer understanding of what they want to do. So the first thing you want to do, like I've said, is you want to help them get direction, not mount unnecessary pressure on them. They have enough pressure as it is being a teenager in this time and age. This second point is very important. Focus. You need to help them build focus. A lot of adults in this age do not have the focus that they require or that they need to succeed. Focus has now become a competitive advantage anywhere someone is found. The ability to stay at something, to refuse to be distracted, even if it's at schoolwork or whatever, it's a competitive advantage. And there are a few things you can do to help them build focus. Number one is help them build structure in their life. The teenage age is one age that needs every structure it can get. And what I'm saying is constant routine. So you could have timetables around things to be done. That structured way of doing things help them to be more organized, knowing what comes up when, and that helps them stay focused on what they need to stay focused on. The next thing you can do in this to help them with focus is to remove as much of the distractions around as you can. One practical way you can do that is what we call the daily focus blocks. So what we're talking about basically is 45 to 60 minutes where they focus on something specific. Anything that distracts them is taken away. So no phone, they're separated, kept somewhere, no TV. Allowing them to focus on something per time. That's a practice that can go a long way and take them a long way. There are several apps on their phones that can help them, those things where the screen just goes blank after a certain hour, so maybe 7 p.m. or something, the screen just goes dark or something. There are a lot of apps you could use to help them. But what you're ultimately trying to achieve in this space is to minimize distractions. One last thing you can do to help them build focus is mindfulness activities. Mindfulness activities. Activities that would help them take their minds from wherever it's running to. And trust me, there are a lot of places for teenagers' minds to run to these days. Activities that help them bring their thinking to a specific area. Now, there are several such activities. One I love a lot is that box breathing that I've always talked about. Check out my videos. I never hesitate to talk about box breathing. But today, I'm not going to talk about box breathing. I'm going to add some more to the toolbox. So there's something called breathing bodies. And basically what happens is, tell your young person to lie down, back, face up, their back on their bed, on the floor, whatever. And keep a teddy bear, a toy, whatever, on their belly. And as they breathe in and out, they would try to focus on the movement of that toy on their chest as it goes up and down. What that does is that focus on that movement has a way of taking their minds from other things. Another thing they can do in this space is what we call mindfulness eating. So normal eating, right? But to make the eating mindful, what you do is you take that food, that piece of biscuit, that piece of cake, that spoon of rice, whatever it is. When it goes into your mouth, you try to think about the smell, the taste, the texture. You feel every aspect of that food. And what that does is as you try to focus on those aspects of the food, your mind lives everywhere else. That's the whole idea of mindfulness activities. Number 3, teach them how to think, not what to think. The temptation to helicopter parent is very high. You want to do everything for them. You want to expose them to as minimal challenge as possible. Well, you're not preparing them for the world that is waiting for them, and you're not helping them in any way. Not an easy thing you can help them do is to learn to ask the right questions. Because if you ask the right questions, oftentimes it forces you to think about the right thing. So practice that with them by asking the right questions. So you see something on a walk and you ask, what do you think about that? That's you teaching them to be curious about things. Why do you think that worked? Say they did something and it turned out positive. Why do you think that worked? Is there anything you think would have stopped it from working? Those kind of questions during those conversations would force your young person to think in a certain way, because those questions are the things that give birth to the right thoughts and thinking. And sometimes it's okay to let them disagree with you. Let them argue. That argument, if you lead it in the right direction, you create the curiosity that they need to succeed. Help them build real confidence through actions. Expose them to things to do. Tiny projects, small things here and there, content creation if that's what they want to start doing, writing, telling stories, selling things online, getting out there to volunteer somewhere. Get them to get involved in real life things. Teenagers who do things see the world in a completely different way from those who do not. So expose them to as many challenges of life as you possibly can. Allow them to take responsibilities at home. Allow them to fail safely sometimes. Failure itself carries a load of lessons for young people as they go through life, because it's not possible for them not to fail every now and then. How they respond to that failure is what determines whether they take that failure and use it to push themselves forward. I was listening a couple of days to a radio phone-in program about dyslexia, and I was to realize that a lot of successful people today were actually dyslexic. And listening to one of them, what she said was the challenge she faced, because for a very long time she couldn't read, and a lot of people saw that as she's just been thick, she doesn't know anything, she's just stupid. And that insult pushed her to do things completely differently, and she's very, very successful today. So challenges sometimes have a way of propelling people forward to better places. Finally, when all is said and done, life would still be annoying sometimes. So you need to help them to build resilience, emotional resilience, because when motivation ceases or fails or is challenged, resilience is what keeps you going. It's okay to struggle. What is not okay is quitting. And it takes resilience to keep going in the face of those challenges. That's something that your young person needs to learn. Yes, the exposure you're going to be giving them is going to expose them to these things. It's going to force them to learn these things. But consciously, you need to help them develop this emotional resilience. A few things that could help them is journaling. Journaling simply is writing down life as it happens. Every time you go back and look through that journal and you see the things you've been through, it has a way of giving you momentum, giving you force to push through the things that are trying to stop you. And that's not the only thing journaling does. The process of pouring things out, pouring things down, writing things down has a way of helping you get through them. I think in psychology it's called venting, where you get the opportunity to, whatever you're feeling, just let it out, let it out. Just puncture that built up pressure and let it out. Oftentimes you feel a lot lighter and you're able to move on to the next thing. Something else that helps build resilience is exercises. There are certain exercises that helps. Running and several things you could do to, let out some of this pressure that may have built up over time. Things as simple as pausing before you react. Something is going wrong. Always remind yourself to pause before you react. These are things you can equip your younger person with and help them push through the challenges of life. And very, very important in this space, having someone they can talk to, which in this case should be you, because you've made out time to spend time with them is very key. But if you're not the one they want to talk to, being able to talk to someone they trust is very, very important. Now, if this video sparked some thinking in your mind of how you would like to support your young person, a structured support for your young person to develop confidence, to improve academically, to get more direction for life, things like career paths and all these other things that they need to succeed, then please feel free to check out our website. Also, you can book a 30 minutes free consultation. Also, I'm just a comment or a chat away, text message away. Reach out and I'll be more than happy to help you. Please remember to subscribe and to follow, because every week we give you these materials for free. Also on our website, there are free downloadable packs and materials there that you can use. There's also a test, a personality test that I've developed that your young person can take, and it will give them a few tips around their strengths, their weaknesses, and career paths that they might want to consider. So please check out the website, book a free consultation call, and we can together do something serious that will set your young person on a truly efficient and effective path to becoming win ready.